Welcome to Thursday Therapy. I'm Glenn Mackintosh, the Weight Psych, and today I'm going to give you 5 great ways to deal with comments about your weight. Hey guys, welcome to Thursday Therapy, where I answer your questions on the psychology of eating, movement, weight, and body image every 2 weeks. It's the start of spring here, the weather is beautiful, and luckily we don't need any light because the power is out, but we're still having a productive day at WMP. And hey, speaking of things that are happening at WMP, our ebook is going bananas. I think we knew that it would be good, but people are absolutely loving it. So if you haven't downloaded it already, we'll provide a link so you can download that ebook. And it's 7 mindset hacks for your eating, movement, weight, and body image. Speaking of weight and body image, let's get to answering our questions from today. Jillian's an exercise physiologist and an intuitive eating coach, and she's asked a beautiful question talking about how compliments kind of trigger 2 of her clients. She's also had her own experience with overcoming dieting with intuitive eating, and she's personally experienced how these compliments can trigger her. So I won't read out the whole email because it's quite long, but we'll provide it in the transcript and I'll kind of just summarize it for you. So one of her people is a bigger person who is losing weight and is triggered by the "you look great" and the "what are you doing to lose weight" comments. And her other client is a smaller person who's struggled with eating disorders, and she's triggered by the "you've got no fat on you" and "you're so lucky to be so thin" comments. So it's interesting, and this is, we see this all the time in our practice, that often those compliments backfire, and for both of these clients it's actually triggering binging, which is undoing their body image work. Now, similarly, Lisa asks the question, "It's taken me a long time to understand that my weight is my business. But I've had a partner who wanted me to lose weight and another who wanted me to put on more. How can I make it clear from the get-go that I don't need anybody's input on how much I weigh?" So girls, these are great questions, and I like that you're both searching for more effective responses, really powerful questions. And I think it's surprising to a lot of us how many people actually get these comments about our weight. I was in sessions with people yesterday. I had 7 people, and 3 of them volunteered to talk about these issues without actually knowing that we were going to record anything on it today. So I think it's more than we kind of think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my 5 top tips, and I'm going to give you which type of person or which type of comment that each strategy might work best for. But as always, I just want you to really kind of reflect on your own situation and the comments that you're getting or that you might be getting, and see what works for you, as always. Okay, so the first thing that you can consider is whether this is an opportunity to educate that person. Both Jillian and Lisa kind of alluded to this understanding that it's really not appropriate for people to be commenting on your weight or your shape or your size. So it could be an opportunity to kind of explain to that person how that might not be appropriate, and even how it affects you. If you decide to do that, I'd encourage you to do it with as much compassion as you can, because people never really respond well to being judged. And I'd encourage you to tend to focus more on your own experience rather than what's politically correct or not. I think that helps the person understand the effect that those comments can have on a real person much better. So, for example, I've got a client I've been working with recently, and he's a pretty jovial kind of character, and finds that people come and comment about his weight, and he's going to start trying to say, hey, you know what? I know that you're just having a joke, but when you kind of point at me and go, oh, you've gained weight, it actually really kind of hurts my feelings. And similarly, I've had a lot of clients I work with who like to say something like, hey, you know what? When you give me those comments, I know that it's kind of well-intentioned and that you're trying to motivate me. But the actual effect that it has on me is that I kind of feel a bit judged or a bit frustrated. It actually gets me focused on my weight more than I'd like, and it makes me end up going the other way. So I'd encourage you to sort of figure out what your message is to those people. And this can be a really good one to do where you've got a person who you feel like is probably going to be giving these comments that are going to be negatively interpreted by a lot of people. Or it's someone that you're going to be seeing a lot and have a lot of contact with, and you really feel like you need to kind of nip this talk in the bud or change that dynamic for the long term. Okay, so sometimes you just don't really want to talk about it. So in those circumstances, it can be really good to just kind of develop a one-liner to just shut the conversation down. So I do this with clients and it works really well. You just figure out your one-liner and you literally rehearse it 5 or 10 times. So when those comments come, you've got your kind of canned politician soundbite that really just lets the person know that they don't need to keep talking about it with you. This can be really, really good for people who are like just a little bit nosy, or people who, you know, a lot of people struggle with their eating, their weight and their body image. So some people, if they see that you're losing weight, they're kind of like, ooh, what's that person doing? They want a bit of info for themselves. So a couple of one-liners that I quite like is one, and this depends on your delivery, you can just say, yeah, I'm eating a bit better. And you just stop the conversation there, and with your tone and you sort of dropping your inflection at the end, then people understand that it's not up for further discussion, and often you can be surprised at how powerful your tone of voice can be in shutting down a conversation. The other one that I quite like, and my clients quite like this because it kind of diffuses the responsibility, is that you can use me as an excuse and just say, yeah, you know what, I'm working with this psychologist, it's going really well. He actually has encouraged me to talk about this a lot less because he thinks we talk about it too much. So it's part of my work to actually not talk about this too much. But if you want a hand with it, I can just send you his details. And that's really, really good because the people who are actually interested in getting support can get support from someone who they're really going to get some support from, and it doesn't have to be you. And then most people are probably in that kind of pre-contemplative stage. They'll kind of go, oh, well, look, I don't really want to follow it any further, and they'll kind of be quiet, which is what you want. Another option for you to consider is whether you can practice accepting certain compliments. So obviously you'd only be practicing accepting compliments that you believe are heartfelt, from people who have your best interests at heart and people who care for you. But one way to think of the people around us is they're all like little mirrors, and each of those mirrors is kind of distorted because they're looking through their own lens. But if you decide that there's a mirror there that is that's a mirror I would like to look at my reflection in, and you'd like to take that in, you can practice accepting the compliment. So again, I would actually practice rehearsing it, and you might practice rehearsing saying something like, thank you, I'm working really hard on it and it's obviously paying off, so thanks. Sometimes you might just want to ignore the comment, or it's better to let it go. So this is the case especially for criticisms, and especially where you don't have a right of reply, like if someone yells out something at you from a car window, or maybe like an internet troll who's, posting nasty comments in the comment section of some social media. someone who you know it's never going to change, so it's not worth your energy to try and educate them or have a conversation around it. And to help you let go of those opinions, I just want you to consider one thing. So think about someone that you really admire. Someone like, I don't know, the Dalai Lama or Bill Gates or your favorite musician. And then think about the likelihood of them typing into a keyboard, "Lose weight, you fat cow." It would never happen. And that highlights a really important psychological cliche that's also a truism. When people criticize you, it's more about them than you. So I really want you to remember that. Know people who are feeling really comfortable in themselves and their spot in life are going to give anyone grief about their size or their weight or their shape. So it might be better to just kind of let that one go. So the last thing that I want you to think about is that whether you're receiving really bad criticisms or well-intended compliments or anything in between, if it's having an adverse effect on you, it's an opportunity for you to build resilience. These days, younger people are not so resilient. They're not so able to deal with the hard stuff at life. And as you get older, especially if you've experienced a lot of weight bias or stigma or discrimination, your resilience kind of gets worn down. But it is really an opportunity to practice some resilience around some of this hard stuff. So what I'm not saying is that it's in any way your fault, but it is one of those kind of crazy paradoxes of doing psychology work, is that we have to say, even if 99% of this problem is due to other people, other situations, it's not in your control, we have to focus on that 1% that is under your control. And your response to these things, even if they are bad, is really, really important and can be really, really powerful for you. So I want you to actually do a bit of looking into resilience and how to build resilience. But a few ways to do it are to develop a more optimistic thinking style, so you can look into optimism. Definitely rely on your support. So rely on your friends, your family, your colleagues. There's a massive body positive movement out there that can support you. And if you're finding these comments too triggering and are really sabotaging your progress, great time to seek professional support from a psychologist, a counselor, or a psychiatrist. And the last thing to do is, build resilience by practicing your own self-care. If something that has happened to you, you've got some type of comment that sort of triggered you or sent you back the other way, it's no different to if you'd, fallen over and hurt your leg. It's a wound, it's a mini little trauma, so you need to take care of yourself in that moment. So thanks for taking the time for another Thursday therapy session. And in the little break, Emma has told me that this is potentially one of the best Thursday therapies ever. So I'm going to accept that compliment and say, thank you, Emma. I think it's a really good one. And guys, it takes a bit of bravery and a bit of open-mindedness to have a play around with these ideas. And for a lot of people, this is a fairly loaded kind of a topic. So I'd encourage you to open your mind. If you need to have conversations with people, be brave. If you need to practice little techniques, be dedicated, and definitely let me know all about it in the comments section or by sending me an email back. Of course, don't forget to download our ebook, and I will see you in a couple of weeks at the next Thursday Therapy.